Welcome back to Black History on Twos. I'm so excited. This is your host, Juggernaut, aka Rev Mark T in AME circles. I was in Selma, Alabama in March of this year for Bloody Sunday along with Brent Leggs, the executive director of the Action Fund of the National Trust, and his staff. They're working to help reopen Brown Chapel AME Church. And if you want to hear from the man himself, stay tuned on the other side of this, and you'll get a chance to hear Brent say for himself why raising millions of dollars for historic black churches and historic sites is an important passion project for him. All right, I'm going to try to just quickly sum up why this is so important before we hear from Brent, because people forget why going to places like Brown Chapel is critical in the first place. This is the 61st commemoration to remember the march from Selma to Montgomery. In 1965, a judge said that black churches in Selma could not open up for organizing for voting rights. That meant if SCLC or SNCC or the NAACP or the local Dallas County voters group came into your place to organize, you would be in violation of a court order. But shout out to the Reverend Paul Lewis, and I've not been able to find a picture of him. So if anybody has a photo of him, please send it to me. I'd be extremely grateful for it. But the Reverend Paul Lewis, the pastor at that time in 1965 of Brown Chapel, called his bishop, Bishop Bonner, and asked permission to open up in spite of what the judge said. The bishop consented. This is why AME churches are so important, because what we have carved out, thanks to our founder, Richard Allen, is a space not just for worship, but also a place where the community can gather to work on important issues. There, the marchers met and organized that Sunday, and they began to march across the bridge. Reverend Hosea Williams, future Congressman John Lewis, Amelia Boynton Robinson, the young sister who was, I think, 11 or 12 at the time, who passed away recently, Joanne Bland, all of them and so many more names we don't know to call. The biggest part of this story is, don't forget that by the summer of that year, they had helped secure the Voting Rights Act. So I want to shout out Bishop Julius McAllister Jr. of the AME Church, who is the current bishop in Alabama, who made sure that he was there on Bloody Sunday. Shout out to Reverend Leotis Strong, the current pastor, who has been working tirelessly to make sure that Brown Chapel is reopened. Shout out to all of those persons who were there on Bloody Sunday. Now, all of that being said, I caught Brent Leggs right there at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. He is a preservation activist, I believe.
When I look at this, I think about our nation's responsibility in helping to steward this legacy and how everyone needs to come together and continue the important work of advancing justice and equality for all Americans. And we have the opportunity in this moment to commemorate a legacy that's powerful and that is uniquely American.
When was the first time you came to Selma? Do you remember?
So I came to Selma, it was probably 4 years ago.
Really?
When we started working on Brown Chapel. And as you know, the church has been closed since 2020.
Right.
The last kind of grand moment was when they held the viewing for Congressman John Lewis. And they uncovered a lot of termite damage and structural issues. And so we've been partnering with them over the years to help them to resurrect this sacred space, raising $3.5 million. And this morning was the very first time that they held church service there. And we got to kind of rededicate historic Brown Chapel today.
Yeah, I mean, well, so I was able to watch it online, and as I was riding in, All right, let me rephrase that, because I was riding a motorcycle. I was listening to it on Facebook. I don't want anybody to think I was like watching it, but it was, it felt like, so each speaker probably felt like they were only going to take a second, but they ended up almost in a sermon.
Oh yeah.
Because they probably couldn't help themselves.
Yeah.
Right. You know, Clyburn, Terry Sewell, Al Sharpton, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund.
Yep.
I mean, I missed your comments. You spoke early.
I did. I was the first speaker.
So what did you say?
So I know a lot of the commentary is around the theme of legacy and social progress, but I wanted to expand the conversation to center the important work of historic preservation. So my through line was the power of stewardship and collective responsibility. So to be inside of historic Brown Chapel today, after 5 years of it being unavailable and closed for renovation, I wanted to challenge the audience and anyone who is coming here that this small church with 11 members that are aging in place, that it is not their sole stewardship burden and responsibility to care for an iconic place in American history. That it is our shared stewardship and collective responsibility to ensure that Brown Chapel is available for present and future generations, that it's available to inspire and challenge us all to be the best citizens that we can on behalf of our nation. And I hope people left encouraged to understand that these historic places like Selma's Brown Chapel are living testimonies not only to a cultural memory, but to our collective promise.
What you're doing is like so important.
Thank you.
I mean, again, thinking of the idea that these places are important to all of us and everybody should like chip in. What moved you to that?
Well, this is the work of preservation.
I understand, but every preservationist I know is not like you. So let's be clear.
But, it's partly because I've 20 years at the National Trust for Historic Preservation, and I've dedicated my entire career to helping African American communities and communities more generally help to preserve Black history and center it at the core of American democracy and our national narrative. And thanks to our partnership with the Lilly Endowment, who's invested $60 million in the African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund through our Preserving Black Churches program, we have the opportunity to help congregations expand their mission beyond religion and to start reimagining their church spaces as civic assets for public programming, expanded interpretation, and as true community assets. And that's the work that we're doing with Mother Bethel in Philadelphia, your home church.
Yeah, you waited till I left to drop $1 million, but that's okay. I'm happy they got it. I love Mother Bethel.
We're partly inspired by your legacy there. And the amazing pastor who has followed in your footsteps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we are just
wonderful.
So blessed that funders and investors believe in our vision for the country, believe in the growing power of historic preservation, and it feels like we're just getting started.
You talk to me about how you had to convince people like Lilly and Ford Foundation. I mean, that's an important piece that I don't think people really fully understand.
Yeah, so actually the way that we started Preserving Black Churches is Lilly had the idea of wanting to create a program in support of historically Black church congregations. They were inspired after the killing of George Floyd.
Wow.
And the kind of national response to social justice. Yeah. And they reached out to us for technical advice. And it was clear to me that there was no better strategist and also organization that would be best positioned to manage this scale of resources, but that also could develop a multi-year strategy that would help Black churches steward their assets and receive direct investment with technical assistance. And we developed a pretty complex strategy, and then they invited us to submit 4 different budgets: $20 million, $15 million, $10 million, and a $5 million budget. We wrote a very compelling proposal, and we received $20 million. And they have since followed that up with a $40 million gift. So they are our second $60 million investor. and the National Trust African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund. And what me and my team believe deeply is based on the words of our advisor and scholar, Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr., who said that the Black church is the oldest institution in America founded by Black people. I mean, this is the starting point for understanding the Black American experience, right. And we are committed to help Black churches sustain their legacy in perpetuity. Yeah. To a building that became a testimony in the civil rights movement. So from design to social services to so many Black schools being founded in church basements or adjacent parcels. Again, it's like it is the foundational point to understand the Black American experience. It's hard to overestimate the exceptional significance of historically Black churches. Yeah. With you being a pastor, you understand the stewardship responsibility, and it can be really challenging to maintain, this old building and the landmarks to make sure that they are in good health and still in active use. And I, in these moments, just commend the leaders of these churches, like yourself, like Pastor Strong and others, that have to rally the congregation, and also grateful to the legacy families that without them and their dedication and commitment to the history they're creating themselves, right. But to helping to steward this place. So I go back to where we started, that there is power in stewardship and collective responsibility.
Yeah. All right, final thought.
Yeah.
This is crazy. We are standing in Selma on Bloody Sunday. My first time here, I was a college student in 1990 on Bloody Sunday. I was brought down by the SCLC. They brought a bunch of us from Atlanta. Wow. Yeah, and we came back and spent spring break protesting. Yeah, so because they were still trying to deal with the schools. Yeah. I stayed with Rose Sanders. Okay. Didn't even know I had no idea who she was, right? But so this is my second time here on Bloody Sunday, and I appreciate it so much more now. Yeah, just kind of, how are you feeling? This is almost surreal.
Yeah, I am deeply inspired by examples of multiracial collaboration and cooperation. And I'm really moved to see Black people and Latinos and white people and others come together in solidarity and are quietly moving together in this commemorative moment. And it gives me a lot of hope for the future. And that's what I see today, especially I'm thinking in memory of the late, great Jesse Jackson and his mantra around the power of hope. And that's what we're witnessing right now.
It's beautiful.